This review is about the Dreams of Gaia Tarot by Ravynne Phelan. This is the deck that made me decide to start doing reviews, because every single time I read for people from this deck, they ask me where I got it, because it is, as I told one of my friends recently, it's just full of deep shit. I mean, it's just really great. It is not cruel. It is just deep. It is a tarot deck. What does that mean? What's the difference between a tarot deck and an oracle deck? A tarot deck has a structure. Traditionally, tarot decks are 78 cards. They have, just like a set of playing cards would be, you know, you'd know immediately if you could play poker with a deck of cards, because there would be 4 suits. It would be ace, 2 to 10, and then it would be jack, queen, king, and you'd have that 4 times in 4 different suits. The playing card decks are based on tarot decks. Trivia. So there are also 4 suits in a tarot deck. There are traditional. There's a lot to talk about with tarot decks and their traditions, so I will not go into all of them right now. But there is a traditional way. Beyond the 4 decks, the reason why it's not just 52 cards like in a playing deck is because there's also all of those decks, all of those suits are the minor arcana, and then there's the major arcana. The major arcana, it's a series of cards that take you through different cycles of life. So each of those cycles of life are either representative by itself of cycles of life, or they are representative for how that cycle is showing up for you in this part of your life. So those major arcana cards are, you know, major life transition-y things. They're big themes, big stuff. The minor arcana gets into a little bit more details, more nitty-gritty. Tarot is very tricky to read. I think there's a lot of opportunity, if you're not very familiar with the deck, to be very judgy. And if you're not open to the thought experiment of reading a tarot card, it can be very daunting to try to figure out not just what it means, but what it means for you in this moment. So with this tarot deck, I think, you know, I just think it's spectacular. It's a striking deck by itself. What does it look like? It looks like this. It's absolutely gorgeous. It has these gold edges that are just phenomenal. This is a newer deck for me, but I bonded with it very quickly. The art is outrageous. There are 81 cards in this deck, so just a few more than the traditional. She really expands upon the major arcana, and it's beautiful. She really goes into it in a different way. The 4 suits are non-traditional. She does the 4 elements instead, which is beautiful. And she pulls on, I will show you several cards, not just one card. I'll show you several cards, because she pulls on imagery from multiple traditions. And so you can read these. I think anyone who feels a deep connection to spirit can read these cards without the book. If you need the book, she does include it's a 308-page book. It is verbose. There's a lot going on in this book, but when you're first bonding with this deck, the book is invaluable, because she really explains so deeply her intention with those detailed writings that you can very quickly understand what she means. So then, you know, if you're looking at a card and you're just like, I need just a flavor, you can go through and it's split up. I'll show you how the book is set up, and it's very accessible. It's absolutely fantastic. So I'm just going to pull a couple cards out of here at random. This guy's on the bottom, and I mean, it's just, every card is shockingly beautiful. So here you can see it's a clear concept of duality, yin and yang. You have your chakras going on. You've got different imagery on both sides. You have clear balance going on here. Let's see what the book even says. It's so fun. This deck is just, it's just stunning. And you have to just be ready to be honest with yourself. Just be ready to be honest with yourself, because these cards pull no punches. They're not cruel, but they're real. They really get into it. This is the 2 of what? Of air, I think? Yes, the 2 of air. So, the pages go on. It's like 2.5 pages for this guy. At the top, you have the keywords and then key phrases. This is usually the upright meaning. This is usually the reversed meaning. Then you have the general whole concept. This is the whole concept that she had behind the card, and then there's a whole separate section for the potential blockage for reversed. I will not read all of this to you in any way, shape, or form. I am just going to read the keywords and key phrases, because once you get used to the deck and you understand where she's going with this, it's very easy to just read those keywords and key phrases and like see the artwork and just know where you're going with this. So for this guy, duality, polarity, separation, unity, dichotomy, integration, choice, and big picture. Everything has an opposite. Duality divides and separates. Polarity unites and integrates, which is such a beautiful differentiation there, and this is why we love this deck. When you create, you also destroy. Embrace an open mind. Nothing is ever black and white. A choice between dichotomy and integration, and sometimes both parties can be right. So this really, for whatever is going on in your life, this card so clearly, even without having to look at the book, we see its duality. I love that she adds polarity to it, because obviously if you have two poles, if you're looking at two poles, they're inherently connected, right? So like duality would be like one or the other, and polarity says one and the other, both sides of the same situation, which is exactly why we love the book and why we will go to the book just to make sure, or not even just to make sure, but to enrich our understanding. And this is why we love this deck. So that's that one. The next card I pulled out here is a major arcana. It is integrity. Wait till you see this card. They are all this stunning. So you have this beautiful scroll work here. You've got the animals. You've got horns. And you have a beautiful jungle setting. A jungle setting with an owl. How can we possibly complain about this card? It's just beautiful. It's really stunning. So let me just pull up just so you can see. I at least want to read these two, just so you can sort of see where she goes with this. I use this deck when I feel like there's a really sticky situation and I need to really dig into it. If I feel like there's just something I'm missing and I want better insight into the situation, I grab this deck, because this deck is deep shit, you know? It's just incredible what she accomplishes with this art. And it just feels good because she has so much good intention in it. Journey and integrity. Where are you at? Okay. So the keywords here: integrity, honesty, honor, character, values, morality, sincerity, consistency, principles, fairness. So the key phrases here are: act with honesty and honor, walk your talk, everyone deserves a second chance, oppose hypocrisy, dishonesty, cruelty, and injustice, practice ethical and honest behavior, do not play favorites, be the best person you can, do it for love, not for profit, keep your promises, do not betray a trust, avoid gossip. So in looking at this card and thinking about those key phrases and the integrity, you can see she's naked, first of all. This is what I'm saying. You can really read these. This is one of the few tarot decks I truly feel that you can read without the book, because if you just look at what the art is really saying, I think there's something there. And also, when you're first looking at a tarot deck, and it will change if you start the reading intending to look at the book versus whether you intend to just look at the pictures, I think the messages come through differently. So if you intend to get into it and see exactly what these cards meant and you're going to read the book, that's one thing. But if you're just looking to see what comes up for you, this deck is amazing for that. I think more so than other decks, because there's so much intention and so much to see in every photo. I mean, every piece of art. So for integrity, you have: she's naked, she's not scared, she is lounging about, open and honest. Horns, for me, are always going to be about the connection between your third eye and your crown chakra. So for me, that's always what that's going to mean. It may mean something different to you, but often there's a lot of imagery for me coming up right now about horns and connection and what that means, and being crowned by horns and that connection to the divine. So it starts here in your head and it moves up. So that is sort of what stuff in there about big picture and having deep integrity with your spiritual stuff, I feel. Anyway, that's what it means to me. You also have the owl, who is obviously wisdom, right? And one of the most beautiful creatures on the planet, regal as all get out. Also really brings up Lisa Frank for me, because I'm on a little bit of a Lisa Frank kick. You also have this waterfall in the background that is subtle and not too much. And you can see down here we even have an apple that is golden. So there's a lot of ways you can go with this. When you first look at the art, if something pops out for you immediately, I would pay close attention to that. For me, the juxtaposition of the owl with the... Is it a jaguar? I think it's a jaguar. I'm sorry if I'm wrong. I think it's a jaguar. Oh, she has peacocks coming off of her horns. Peacock feathers. Also another third eye thing, which is very cool. So for me anyway, it was that juxtaposition between them. For me, there's a lot. Cards often have messages for me about me being childish and being catty, that sort of a thing. That's something that comes up. And owls also deeply resonate with me as a healer. So that's one of my healing totem animals. So the keeping your regal big cat self regal and not catty, along with that inherent healing wisdom. For me, that's what integrity is meaning for me. This may mean something totally different to you, just as, any card can mean totally different things. This one is choice. So deep, right? We also have this theme here. We have another golden apple, which I'm going to take personally because I think that's interesting. It came up for me twice right here in front of you. We have a snake holding the light. We've got some Celtic imagery here. We have this angelic dagger. Cool. It has starlight in it. You have the choices that are being purified with tears. At least to me, they're purified with tears because they're just flowing so naturally over it and integrating. You have a light face and the face of the tree. And at the bottom here, you've got this Celtic knot moving into the universe. So there's a lot of different traditions here. You have a little bit of Christianity coming in with the snake in the tree, bringing light. Interesting. You've got also Christian imagery with the apple, which you can take any way you want. And then you've got the Celtic, really feels to me a little bit of Tree of Life, also because it's 0, so it's the major arcana, like I said, are different life cycle parts, and at the beginning of the arcana, it's closer to the beginning of life. So before we've even begun with birth, 0 is choice, which is very interesting. I really like how she puts this deck together, and it's really interesting to go through the whole thing and see how she plans it out. So this is what this deck is like. There's a lot to question. There's a lot to puzzle through. There are just endless beautiful images, just beautiful images. There's just so much to explore, and having the dimension of the elements instead of the traditional wands and swords, it's really just nice to have that different flavor to it and feel like this is the element I'm resonating with right now, as opposed to these, traditional tarot was made a long time ago, and some of those images are dated. Swords are not quite as common in the everyday as they were back in the day. So this is a very relatable situation. She explains everything so deeply in the book that it's so easy to bond with them, because you start to really feel her intention with with the art is just outrageous. I mean, really, just outrageously amazing. So, I love this deck. If you are not scared to see what this deck wants to tell you, I would love to do a reading for you. I also like to do multi-deck readings, so if there's another deck I've reviewed that I own that you would like to pair with this deck to sort of, I would suggest if you wanted to go, I would not suggest this deck for someone who's never read tarot cards before, because it really gets in there and it can be a little scary. But if you have read tarot cards before, had your cards read, and you are just interested to see what comes up from this deliciousness, I am happy to be that guide for you. Have a great day.